We're taught about Nuremberg, but not as extensively as we should.
It's a story I'd never heard before.
You're talking about a tribunal.
The world needs to know what these men did.
I think wrestling it into shape as a filmic endeavor was the first part.
It was an impeccable script.
Given the nature of the subject matter, we had an extraordinary duty on our hands.
I said, but that's going to be a 21-minute take.
It just elevates the stakes of everything through the roof.
As a director, it's a gift to have people who are that committed, that talented, and that excited to try something that daring.
Welcome to Nuremberg.
Nuremberg is the story of Douglas Kelley, who was a U.S. Army psychiatrist who at the end of World War II was given orders to go to Morndorf. And the colonel there said, okay, upstairs, we have the entire surviving Nazi high command. And you've been brought in to evaluate whether these men can be put on trial for their lives.
Hermann Göring's here?
I think he's thrust into a world that would be one of the most extraordinary experiences for a psychiatrist. And I think he's surprised by what he discovers in all of these men.
If we could psychologically define evil, we could make sure something like this never happens again.
I had no idea that it was the first time that there had been a trial of people that had been at war.
I have to ask, would you still follow the Führer?
This was all a new frontier. There were new terms just to talk about the magnitude of what the Nazis had perpetrated. They didn't even know what you would charge them with.
Anything less than total victory will be considered utter defeat, which means you don't just have to win, Robert, you have to be flawless.
Well, when you put it like that.
Michael Shannon's character, he was so resolute about ensuring that this trial happened. He said, in order for this never to happen again, even with the risk that the Nazis might be cleared under the excuse of theater of war.
This war ends in a courtroom.
With Göring.
He's the face of the Nazis now. As he falls, so do they all.
Good morning, Julius. I'm going to show you a series of cards, each with ink blots, and you're going to tell me what each ink blot makes you see. Perhaps it will reveal something about your character, your intelligence, creativity. Shall we begin?
It's our own Rorschachs.
Yeah.
Kelley was fascinated with Göring, but also very excited because, you know, this man was the highest ranking living Nazi on the planet. And Kelley thought he had a chance to really dissect evil. And Göring, at the same time, is trying to get something out of Kelley. He's trying to get back on the world stage one last time.
I will have, as you say, my day in court.
I think when you have to go toe-to-toe with a Hermann Göring, especially one played by Russell Crowe, you need an element of surprise, an element of showmanship, some charisma. So he needed to be someone you would want to divulge information to. He's also an amateur magician, so I think he's very used to presenting in a certain way, and perhaps that allows him to achieve what he needs to achieve with a certain patient.
Ta-da! I will show you a magic trick one day.
What's that?
I am going to escape the hangman's noose.
You know, we talked a lot about Silence of the Lambs right from the beginning. You know, these two people, one coming into another's cell and attempting to play each other, to understand each other, and yet they both end up affecting each other, and I think in ways that neither anticipated.
Just because a man is your ally does not mean he is on your side.
Is this the first meeting that you have in the cell?
Is it the first meeting? I think it's confronting being in those opposing uniforms, and Amir immediately dropped right into that world. And then to see Russell in that particular uniform, we felt the gravity of history in there and a heavyweight inside of it. You never know what to expect when you hear the name Russell Crowe. There was a warm, charming, mischievous side of him.
Could you please repeat the question?
That was able to deliver a sense of banter along with a poignant power all at the same time. And that was on and off screen as well. I think we all just elevated each other's performance day in and day out. That's the only way to get through it, to do justice to it.
Now this is a cell.
I'll tell you what's fascinating about just this environment is that usually in a typical Hollywood set, you would pull a wall and bring in a camera. Darius Wolski and James Vanderbilt had a genius idea that we were going to keep the cameras in each cell. No walls would be removed, and we would have to find a way to position the cameras with operators, camera assistants, sound was in there, and of course it became a very claustrophobic setting. So you had no other option but to confront truth. You couldn't shy away from any moment. It was visceral. You could smell each other, you could hear every breath. And so every time you took a step into the cell, you knew there was this palpable feeling that something very human was about to happen.
What was wonderful, I mean, probably more so for you and Russell, because you had most of the dialogue in these cells. There was never a point where Rami had to sort of peek around a camera to talk to Russell. You know, it was like a tiny, tiny little stage.
I think it definitely affected how we staged it. And Rami and I talked a lot about how, for most of the scenes in the cell, Kelley, as the doctor, would try and respect what little personal space Göring had. So he would never sit on Göring's bed until a very key moment in the film. And you see Kelley owning that space and sitting on that bed, waiting for him.
Was there one scene that you thought, that is, if I get that scene, everything else follows from that?
I think it was one of the last scenes in the cell between Kelley and Göring after the films are shown. I sort of felt if that works, then the rest of the film will turn on it.
And what I find so amazing is that by going through Rami Malek's Kelley character and Russell Crowe's Göring, through the prism of those two characters, you understand the full spectrum of the Holocaust.
One of the things I was really excited to do was tell a very smaller personal story to demonstrate the scope of the larger story.
We are able to do away with domestic tyranny only when we make all men answerable to the law.
This is a picture of Jackson during his opening statement. He knows this is the beginning of what's probably going to be a long and arduous process. He's putting on a brave face, but he's also well aware that victory is not assured. When you're playing a real person, it's incumbent upon you to learn as much about them as you can so that you can honor who they were and what they did and their legacy. I consider him a hero. He was a very significant part of our history, so I was very flattered that they asked me to do it.
All the beautiful cities in this conquered land. I want to try them in this bombed-out husk.
My big memory is how much all of us wanted it to look right, to be right. If you know it's 1945, you know that's what people look like. But what you're trying to do is also make it interesting. You still want everybody to have a personality. So I knew that that sort of set the bar of what we were doing with the looks. Also, I knew that Eve Stewart was doing the set design and she's brilliant.
Eve went to Nuremberg, she went to the courtroom, she went to the parade grounds, she went to the prison, still a working prison, got all of the real plans. From the very beginning, we wanted to build everything to scale as much as we could. We wanted it to feel as authentic as possible. It's something you don't always get to do, especially in modern filmmaking. There's, a lot of green or blue screen, but at every moment we could build something, we built it. I think it's so helpful for the actors and for the crew to sort of be able to immerse themselves in that space. And I mean, just the sets were incredible.
The roof's been damaged by the air raids, but the courtroom should be able to hold 600 people when it's finished.
I was fortunate to have some scenes in the courtroom by myself. That was an amazing opportunity just to be in that space by myself. But when I came in and it was full of people, it was pretty electrifying. There was a lot of energy in that room.
There's nothing left for us to do, sir. Might as well go finish the war.
What's extraordinary is that I had watched the trial on YouTube, and you see it in black and white with that courtroom, and then you get into the film studio, and Eve Stewart, the production designer, had recreated this to within a centimetre of what the original was. So it felt like you were literally walking into history.
May it please your honors, the privilege of opening the first trial in history for crimes against the peace of the world imposes a grave responsibility.
Usually those scenes would be broken up into pieces, and what Michael and Russell actually asked James if it was possible was to shoot it as if it was a play.
We shot it on a Monday and a Tuesday, and this, bastard, said Russell and Michael Shannon going at it, hell for leather as titans in this scene, they'd like to do the whole thing in one go. And I said, but that's going to be a 21-minute take. So I literally shat myself and started shooting. There was no rehearsal. We started shooting and went all the way through.
They nailed it, bang on, every single take. I mean, both of them, they didn't just get, one round of standing ovations. It was almost every time there was applause.
If the facts do not suit you, there's very little I can do.
Can you not answer yes or no?
It was my favourite part of the whole shoot, to be honest, I think.
Was it?
It was, yeah. I think it was also the entire cast was there, which was great, but so much happened. I personally felt so lucky to be a part of that.
What was so electrifying is that the majority of the Hungarian extras forming the audience, because they had lived through Nazi occupation and then followed by the communist occupation, they were people that have first-hand experience of what it is to be under a fascist regime. And at the end of this incredible take, there was a sort of beat of silence, and then they all stood and applauded. And it was astonishing because they felt what had happened in this courtroom without understanding what the language was.
I think it's all of it. I think it's the energy in the room. I think it's the actors. I think it was the idea that there was no perfect off-ramp to wrap a day. Sort of the idea of shooting 6 or 7 pages of it and then dropping it and coming back the next morning and trying to get that energy up again. And also you have Russell and you have Michael and you have Richard, who are all brilliant actors and are excited to do it. As much as Richard calls me a bastard for it, he was game. He was absolutely game for it and delivered, crushed it. So it was, when you have a caliber of actor of that level who are saying, give me the ball, I want to play, I want to play through, I want to do this thing, I want to shoot 25-minute takes, you let them go for it.
We're bringing about a final solution of the Jewish question.
He's got him.
There was a sense of extreme tension in that room and an appreciation for the story that was being told.
That was a day that I don't think any of us will forget.
I mean, I don't think I'll have a day like that on a film set again. It was amazing.
I will never. It was absolutely a one-off, unique experience.
Yeah.
So in the courtroom, we show actual footage from the camps. And this is footage that anyone can find if you care to find it. It's pretty horrifying to watch. But we hadn't, as a cast, Jamie had asked us not to look at it until we shot the scene so that he could capture our reactions to it.
This is all true, has been seen, and is now being recorded.
Seeing the actual footage from the camps when they were liberated is something that is unbelievably shocking to see. And you feel at the same time that it's necessary.
What I just saw. How is it possible?
I believe that we forget the past at our peril. And telling those stories, telling a moment where, the world tried to choose justice over vengeance is very important. And it was timely 13 years ago when I started working on it, and I think it's certainly timely now, and I think unfortunately it'll be timely in the future.
There's a point during those Rorschach tests where Russell's character as Hermann Göring says, I see blood, but maybe I just see ink.
You can say a lot of things with ink.
It reminded me how we can alter history in textbooks, how we don't know every single element of history until we see these stories, and we have to constantly remind ourselves that these stories need to be told.
What I think is so valuable about it is that no matter what you do or think that you're getting away with, you are accountable. And I think that's a timely reminder of that.
This is something I'll walk away from feeling that we were able to tell a story that resonates in a way that is not just entertaining, but allows people to wrestle with how complicit they are in the world we live in and what they can do to change that through action or silence. And I hope it's the former.
The wrongs which we seek to condemn and punish have been so calculated, so malignant, and so devastating that civilization cannot tolerate their being ignored, because we cannot survive their being repeated.